Have you ever found yourself staring blankly at someone speaking English, your mind racing to translate, but your mouth frozen in silence? Or perhaps you've spent years studying grammar rules and vocabulary lists, only to freeze the moment you need to actually speak. What if I told you that you've been approaching English all wrong, and that there's a simpler, more natural way to achieve the fluency you've been dreaming of? I'm about to share something that might completely change the way you think about learning English. This isn't just another set of tips or strategies. It's a fundamental shift in perspective that could transform your relationship with the language forever. The truth is, English isn't nearly as difficult as you've been led to believe. The biggest obstacle standing between you and fluency isn't your intelligence, your memory, or even your learning resources. It's something much more basic, yet much more powerful: your mindset. I know exactly how it feels to struggle with a new language. That moment when you want to express a complex thought, but can only muster simple words. The frustration of listening to native speakers talk at what seems like lightning speed. The embarrassment of making a mistake in front of others. I've been there too, and I understand your struggle intimately. But today, everything changes. Today, we're going to break down the barriers that have been holding you back and discover how to learn English the way it's meant to be learned. Naturally, joyfully, and effectively. Think about it. How did you learn your first language? Did you study grammar textbooks as a toddler? Did you memorize vocabulary flashcards? Of course not. You absorbed the language by being immersed in it. You listened. You imitated. You made countless mistakes without fear or shame. And gradually, without even realizing it, you became fluent. This natural approach to language acquisition didn't stop working just because you grew up. In fact, it remains the most powerful way to learn any language, including English. The problem isn't that you can't learn English. It's that you've been trying to learn it in a way that works against your brain's natural learning mechanisms. Starting today, I want you to forget everything that has made English difficult for you. Forget about memorizing complicated grammar rules. Forget about trying to speak perfectly on your first attempt. And most importantly, forget about the fear that has been paralyzing your progress. Because here's the truth that many English teachers won't tell you: the biggest reason people fail to speak English fluently isn't a lack of knowledge. It's fear. Fear of making mistakes. Fear of sounding silly. Fear of being judged. But what if I told you that mistakes aren't obstacles to learning? They're actually essential stepping stones on the path to fluency. What if the very things you've been avoiding are exactly what you need to embrace? In the next hour, I'm going to show you how to transform your approach to English. You'll discover how to create an immersive English environment no matter where you live. You'll learn how to think directly in English without translating in your head. And most importantly, you'll find out how to overcome the fear and hesitation that have been holding you back. This isn't about studying English harder. It's about living English more fully. It's about making the language a natural, integrated part of your daily life, rather than a separate subject you practice for an hour and then forget. So let's begin this journey together. Let's discover how you can unlock your true English potential and speak with a confidence you never thought possible. The first and most crucial step in transforming your English is changing your mindset. Many learners start with a fundamental belief that English is difficult or complicated, and this belief alone creates a significant barrier to progress. Your brain is incredibly powerful, but it's also highly suggestible. When you tell yourself that something is hard, Your brain treats that statement as fact and subconsciously resists learning. Think about how babies learn to walk. They fall dozens, perhaps hundreds of times. But do they ever conclude that walking is too difficult and give up? Of course not. They approach the challenge with persistence and a complete absence of self-judgment. Each fall is simply information, a minor adjustment needed in their approach. They get up, try again, and eventually walk without even thinking about it. This exact same principle applies to learning English. Mistakes aren't failures. They're simply feedback. They're valuable information that helps you adjust and improve. If you're not making mistakes, you're not learning anything new. Starting today, I want you to begin reprogramming your thoughts about English. Instead of telling yourself, English is difficult, or I can't speak English well, replace these limiting beliefs with empowering alternatives. English is becoming easier for me every day. I am constantly improving my English skills. I can communicate in English. These statements might feel artificial at first, but they create powerful changes in your subconscious mind. The more you repeat them, the more your brain begins to accept them as reality. This isn't empty positive thinking. It's a deliberate rewiring of your neural pathways to support rather than sabotage your learning. Remember, your thoughts create your reality. If you believe you can't learn English effectively, you'll find evidence to support that belief. But if you believe that you're improving every day and that fluency is inevitable with practice, you'll start noticing all the ways you're making progress. Once you've begun shifting your mindset, the next step is to surround yourself with English in your daily life. Many people believe they need to live in an English-speaking country to achieve fluency. But this simply isn't true. You can create an immersive English environment wherever you are. Start with simple changes in your everyday routine. Change your phone's language settings to English. This small adjustment means you'll be reading and processing English words dozens of times throughout your day. Each interaction with your device becomes a mini English lesson. Next, begin incorporating English into your thought processes. Currently, you likely think in your native language and then translate into English when needed, a process that makes speaking slow and cumbersome. Instead, start practicing simple thoughts directly in English. When you wake up in the morning, don't think, I need to brush my teeth. In your native language, think directly in English. I need to brush my teeth now. When making breakfast, think, I'm making coffee, or this toast smells delicious. When leaving your home, think, the weather looks nice today, or I need to take my umbrella because it might rain. These simple thought patterns might feel strange or artificial at first, but with consistent practice, they'll become increasingly natural. Eventually, English thoughts will start flowing automatically, without conscious effort. Another powerful technique is talking to yourself in English. This might sound silly, but it's one of the most effective ways to develop fluency in a safe, judgment-free environment. Stand in front of a mirror and have simple conversations with yourself. Good morning. How did you sleep? I slept well, thank you. I had an interesting dream about flying. What are your plans for today? I have a meeting at work, and then I might go shopping. This self-conversation practice allows you to experiment with English without any fear of making mistakes or being judged. You can practice pronunciation, experiment with new vocabulary, and develop fluency at your own pace. The more you do this, the more comfortable you'll become speaking English with others. A simple but surprisingly effective technique is labeling items around your home with their English names. Take small pieces of paper and write the English words for objects in your environment: door, table, refrigerator, mirror, window, book, cup. Stick these labels on the corresponding items. Whenever you see these labels, don't just read the word silently. Say it aloud and use it in a sentence. This is a book. The book is on the table. This is a cup. I drink coffee from this cup. This practice helps your brain create direct associations between objects and their English names, bypassing the translation step entirely. Many English learners make a critical mistake. They believe they need to master grammar before they can start speaking. This approach actually hinders fluency rather than helping it. When you focus excessively on grammar rules, you become afraid of making mistakes, which leads to hesitation and lack of confidence when speaking. Think again about how children learn language. They don't study grammar books or memorize conjugation patterns. They listen to people around them, imitate what they hear, and gradually internalize the patterns of the language naturally. Grammatical correctness comes through exposure and practice, not through conscious memorization of rules. Instead of studying abstract grammar concepts, focus on learning practical sentences that you can use in daily life. Rather than memorizing the rules of present continuous tense, learn useful sentences that naturally incorporate this structure. I am eating breakfast. She is going to the market. They are playing football. By repeatedly using these patterns in context, your brain will naturally internalize the grammatical structures. You'll develop an intuitive sense of what sounds right in English, just as you have in your native language. The key to this approach is massive input and practice. Listen to how native speakers talk and repeat what you hear. When you encounter a new phrase or sentence structure, don't just understand it. Say it out loud, multiple times. This repetition helps cement the pattern in your brain. Now let's talk about practical ways to incorporate English into your daily routine. The most effective language learning happens not during dedicated study sessions, but through consistent, everyday usage. Every moment of your day provides opportunities to practice English, even if you're alone. Start with your morning routine. As soon as you wake up, begin narrating your actions in English. Good morning. I feel refreshed today. I had a good sleep. Time to get up and brush my teeth. When you enter the bathroom, continue. I'm brushing my teeth now. Now I'm washing my face. I'll take a shower. In the kitchen, I'm making tea. This tea smells wonderful. I'm having toast with butter for breakfast. Even though you might feel self-conscious speaking aloud when alone, this practice is incredibly valuable. It builds the neural pathways that connect thoughts directly to English expression, bypassing the translation step that slows most learners down. You can extend this practice to imagined conversations throughout your day. Envision typical interactions and practice them in advance. Here's a simple conversation you might have with a family member in the morning. Good morning. Good morning. How did you sleep? I slept well. What are you making for breakfast? I'm making eggs and toast. Would you like some tea? Yes, please. I love tea in the morning. Okay, your tea is ready. Thank you. It smells really nice. These everyday conversations might seem basic, but they build confidence and fluency in essential patterns that form the foundation of more complex communication. When you go outside, continue narrating your activities and preparing for potential interactions. If you're heading to a market, you might think, I need to buy some vegetables. Let me check my shopping list. I'll take the bus to the market. Once at the shop, you might have a conversation like, Excuse me, do you have fresh tomatoes? Yes, here they are. How much is 1 kilo? It's $2 per kilo. Okay, I'll take 2 kilos. Anything else? Yes, I also need some onions. Here you go. That'll be $5,000 total. Here's the money. Thank you. Thank you. Have a nice day. By mentally rehearsing these common interactions, you prepare yourself to engage confidently in real-world situations. When you eventually have similar conversations in real life, they'll feel familiar rather than frightening. Social interactions with friends provide another excellent opportunity for practice. Hey, how are you? I'm good. How about you? I'm great. What are you doing? Nothing much, just relaxing. Do you want to go for a walk? Yes, that sounds great. If you visit a cafe, you might practice ordering. Let's order something. What do you want? I want coffee. What about you? I'll have a lemonade. Okay, let's call the waiter. Hello, what would you like to order? One coffee and one lemonade, please. Okay, anything else? No, that's all. Thank you. Your order will be ready soon. Even at the end of the day, continue practicing with evening conversations. Today was a long day. What did you do today? I went to the market and met my friend. That sounds nice. What did you buy? I bought some vegetables and fruits. Good. Now let's have dinner. Yes, I'm very hungry. Before sleeping, conclude with some reflective self-talk. Today was a good day. I learned a lot of new things. Tomorrow I'll wake up early and practice morning English. Now it's time to sleep. Good night. This continuous practice throughout your day creates thousands of small learning moments that collectively lead to remarkable progress. One of the most powerful techniques for improving your English is what I call listen and repeat. When you hear a new sentence or phrase, don't just listen passively. Repeat it aloud immediately. Say it exactly as you heard it, matching the pronunciation, intonation, and rhythm. For example, if you hear, I'm going to the market, say aloud, I'm going to the market. Try to mimic not just the words but the musicality of the sentence. The rise and fall of the voice, the stress on certain syllables, the connected sounds between words. This technique helps train your ear to recognize the sounds of English and trains your mouth to produce those sounds accurately. It builds muscle memory in your speech organs and creates stronger neural connections in your brain. Daily practice of listen and repeat can dramatically improve both your comprehension and your pronunciation. Now let's address some of the most common challenges that prevent English learners from speaking confidently. Many people understand English well. They can read and write with reasonable proficiency, but freeze when it comes to actual conversation. Let's explore why this happens and how to overcome it. The first major barrier is fear of making mistakes. You worry that if you say something incorrectly, others will judge you negatively. This fear creates tension in your body and mind, making it even harder to speak naturally. The second challenge is concern about pronunciation. You may worry that your accent is too strong or that people won't understand you, which leads to hesitation and self-consciousness when speaking. A third obstacle is lack of practice. If you rarely speak English aloud, you haven't developed the muscle memory and neural pathways necessary for fluent speech. This creates a vicious cycle. You don't speak because you're not confident, and you're not confident because you don't speak. Finally, many learners struggle because they translate from their native language before speaking. This mental translation process is slow and cumbersome, creating unnatural pauses that interrupt the flow of conversation. Let's address each of these challenges methodically, starting with pronunciation. While you don't need to sound like a native speaker to communicate effectively, clear pronunciation helps others understand you easily. The most effective way to improve pronunciation is through careful listening and imitation. Choose a short audio clip of a native speaker, perhaps just a single sentence. Listen carefully to how they pronounce each word and the overall melody of the sentence. Then repeat it, trying to match their pronunciation exactly. Do this multiple times until your version sounds as close as possible to the original. For example, take a simple sentence like, I want to go to the park. Don't just read it. Listen to how a native speaker says it, noting the connected sounds, want to, got to, the stress pattern, and the intonation. Then reproduce it as accurately as you can. Recording yourself can provide valuable feedback on your pronunciation. Speak record. Listen and compare your speech to the native model. You'll quickly identify differences and areas for improvement. Another important principle is to speak slowly and clearly. Many learners try to speak quickly because they think it makes them sound more fluent, but rapid speech often leads to unclear pronunciation. It's much better to speak at a moderate pace with clear articulation than to rush through sentences with poor pronunciation. Now, to build confidence in speaking, you need to adopt a different perspective on mistakes. Understand that errors are not failures. They're an essential part of the learning process. Even native speakers make grammatical errors, use incorrect words, and sometimes struggle to express themselves clearly. The key difference is that native speakers don't let these occasional mistakes undermine their confidence. They simply correct themselves and continue the conversation. This is the attitude you need to cultivate. Start by speaking English every day, even if it's just to yourself. Remember that confidence comes from practice, not from perfect knowledge. The more you speak, the more comfortable you'll become with the physical sensations and mental processes involved in speaking English. A helpful technique is the 3-second rule. When someone asks you a question in English, don't spend too long formulating the perfect response. Give yourself just 3 seconds, then start speaking. Your answer might be simple. I went to the park. I watched a movie. I had a great day. But immediacy is more important than complexity or perfect grammar. If you wait too long before responding, anxiety builds, making it harder to speak naturally. By limiting your planning time, you force yourself to be spontaneous, which actually reduces nervousness and increases fluency over time. The ultimate key to speaking English fluently is learning to think directly in English rather than translating from your native language. When you translate, your brain goes through multiple steps. Think in your native language, convert to English, then speak. This process is inherently slow and creates unnatural pauses in your speech. By thinking directly in English, you can speak more naturally and spontaneously. This might seem challenging at first, especially if you're accustomed to translation, but it's a skill that can be developed with practice. Start by naming objects around you in English throughout the day. When you see a tree, think tree, rather than the word in your native language. When you see a car, think car. This simple practice begins to create direct associations between objects and their English names. Next, progress to thinking in simple sentences. If you're brushing your teeth, think, I'm brushing my teeth. When eating, think, this food is delicious, or I'm enjoying this meal. Don't translate. Try to form the thought directly in English. Talking to yourself in English accelerates this process. Spend 5-10 minutes each day having a conversation with yourself in English. While getting ready in the morning, say aloud, I'm choosing my clothes. I'll wear a blue shirt today. When walking outside, the weather is nice today. I see a little girl playing. The more you engage with English media, the easier thinking in English becomes. Watch movies with English subtitles, listen to podcasts, read simple books. This consistent exposure trains your brain to process English directly rather than through the filter of translation. Remember that speaking is crucial for reinforcing this skill. Even if you make mistakes, even if you can't find exactly the right word, keep speaking. If you forget a specific term, find another way to express the same idea using simpler words. For example, if you want to say, I lost my keys and can't find them, but you forget the word lost, you could say, I don't have my keys. I don't know where they are. This paraphrasing skill is valuable even for native speakers and helps you maintain conversational flow without getting stuck on specific vocabulary. Here's a simple daily plan to help you start thinking in English. Morning. Name everything around you in English. Afternoon. Make simple English sentences in your mind. Evening. Watch or listen to English content for at least 20 minutes. Night. Speak to yourself in English for 5-10 minutes. Follow this plan consistently, and within a few weeks, you'll notice yourself starting to think in English naturally, without conscious effort. This is the tipping point where English begins to feel less like a foreign language and more like a natural extension of your thoughts. Let's explore more deeply how you can implement these principles in your daily life. The key to successful language learning isn't finding the perfect method or resource. It's consistency and integration into your everyday activities. Begin each day with English. As soon as you wake up, before you even get out of bed, start forming simple English thoughts. Notice the sunlight coming through your window and think, the sun is shining today, or it looks cloudy this morning. These tiny moments of English thinking set the tone for the day and signal to your brain that English is a priority. As you prepare breakfast, narrate your actions out loud if possible, or silently if you're not alone. I'm cracking eggs into the pan. I'm adding a little salt. The toast is getting brown. These simple descriptions connect everyday actions directly to English expression, building fluency in practical, useful language. During your commute or daily activities, transform dead time into language learning opportunities. While waiting for a bus, describe the people and scenes around you in English. The woman is wearing a red coat. That child is playing with a dog. The bus is late today. If you drive, use this time for speaking practice. Describe what you see. Practice explaining a concept you've been learning about, or imagine having a conversation with someone in English. Even 15 minutes of daily speaking practice during your commute adds up to substantial practice over time. When you encounter new situations throughout your day, challenge yourself to figure out how you would describe them in English. If you experience something interesting or unusual, think about how you would tell someone about it in English. What vocabulary would you need? How would you structure the story? During lunch breaks or coffee breaks, take 5 minutes to write a few sentences in English about your morning or your plans for the afternoon. This quick writing practice reinforces vocabulary and helps you notice gaps in your expression that you can address later. In the evening, reflect on your day in English. Think about what went well, what challenges you faced, and what you're looking forward to tomorrow. This reflection creates a natural context for using past, present, and future tenses in meaningful, personally relevant ways. As you prepare for sleep, mentally review some of the new English expressions or words you encountered during the day. This final review helps consolidate your learning and prepares your brain to continue making connections while you sleep. This integrated approach, where English becomes woven throughout your daily activities rather than isolated to study sessions, is what leads to natural, effortless fluency over time. Now let's address some of the specific challenges you might face as you implement these strategies, along with practical solutions for each. Challenge the 1. I feel self-conscious speaking English aloud, especially in public. Solution: start in private spaces where no one can hear you. Practice in your room, in the shower, or while driving alone in your car. As your confidence grows, gradually extend to more public situations. Remember that most people are focused on their own concerns and aren't paying close attention to your speech. Challenge 2. I often can't remember the right word when speaking. Solution: develop the skill of circumlocution, explaining around the word you can't remember. If you forget the word umbrella, you might say, the thing you use to stay dry when it rains. This keeps the conversation flowing and is a skill that even native speakers use regularly. Challenge 23. I understand when others speak slowly, but real conversations move too quickly for me. Solution: start building speed gradually. Listen to English content at normal speed for just 5 minutes at first, focusing on catching main ideas rather than understanding every word. Gradually increase the duration as your comprehension improves. Ask conversation partners to slow down slightly while you're learning, then work up to natural speed. Challenge 4. I know individual words but struggle to form complete sentences quickly. Solution: learn and practice common sentence frames that you can fill in with different vocabulary. For example, I think that da or could you please da ga, or I'm not sure about da ga da, but I know da ga ba. These frames provide structure while you develop greater fluency. Challenge 5. I feel too tired or busy to practice English consistently. Solution: integrate English into activities you're already doing rather than adding separate study time. Change your social media language to English. Listen to English podcasts while exercising, set your GPS to give directions in English, or watch TV with English subtitles. These small changes require minimal extra time but provide consistent exposure. Challenge 6. I don't have anyone to practice speaking with. Solution: use language exchange apps to find conversation partners online, join virtual English conversation groups, or hire an online tutor for even just one session per week. If these aren't options, voice recording apps allow you to record yourself speaking and listen back to assess your fluency and pronunciation. Challenge 7. I get nervous and forget everything I know when trying to speak English. Solution: prepare phrases for buying yourself thinking time, such as, that's an interesting question. Let me think about that for a moment. Or, well, in my opinion. These give you a few seconds to organize your thoughts while maintaining conversational flow. Remember that every language learner faces these challenges. They're normal parts of the process, not signs that you're failing or lacking ability. Approach each challenge as a puzzle to solve rather than a barrier that defines your capabilities. Let's now focus on how to maintain motivation over the long term. Because language learning is a marathon, not a sprint. Initial enthusiasm often fades when progress seems slow or challenges arise, so having strategies to sustain your commitment is essential. First, celebrate small victories. Did you understand a few more words in a conversation today? Did you successfully order food in English? Did you think of a sentence in English without translating? These seemingly minor achievements are actually significant milestones that deserve recognition. Second, track your progress visually. Keep a simple journal where you note new words learned, situations where you successfully used English, or content you were able to understand. When motivation flags, look back at earlier entries to remind yourself how far you've come. Third, connect with your personal why. Are you learning English for career advancement, to travel more confidently, to connect with people from different cultures, to enjoy films and books in their original language? Whatever your reasons, keep them front and center in your mind. On difficult days, reconnecting with your deeper motivation can reignite your commitment. Fourth, make English enjoyable rather than a chore. Find content you genuinely enjoy: music, sports commentary, cooking shows, comedy clips, and engage with it in English. When you associate the language with pleasure rather than obligation, consistent practice becomes much easier. Fifth, join a community of learners. Whether online or in person, connecting with others on the same journey provides encouragement, accountability, and shared resources. You'll be inspired by others' progress and can offer support when they struggle, creating a positive cycle of motivation. Finally, be patient and compassionate with yourself. Learning a language is one of the most complex cognitive tasks humans can undertake. There will be plateaus where progress seems to stall, and that's completely normal. During these times, maintaining consistent exposure and practice is more important than ever. The breakthrough often comes just after the point where many people would give up. As you continue your English journey, remember that the goal isn't perfect mastery. It's effective communication. Native speakers make grammar mistakes, forget words, and sometimes struggle to express complex ideas clearly. Perfection isn't the standard even for them, so it shouldn't be your measure of success either. Instead, focus on whether you can understand and be understood. Can you express your needs, share your thoughts, connect with others, and accomplish your goals using English? If so, you're successful, regardless of occasional errors or hesitations. The approach I've shared with you today represents a fundamental shift in how most people think about language learning. Rather than treating English as a subject to study, I've encouraged you to view it as a tool to use and a skill to develop through practice. This natural approach, focused on meaningful communication rather than perfect correctness, aligns with how our brains are designed to learn languages. By changing your mindset, creating an immersive environment, practicing in real-life contexts, and learning to think directly in English, you've begun a transformation that goes beyond just acquiring a new language. You're developing greater cognitive flexibility, cultural awareness, and communication skills that will serve you in all areas of life. English fluency isn't just about knowing words and rules. It's about connecting with others across cultural and linguistic boundaries. It's about expanding your opportunities for education, career advancement, travel, and personal growth. It's about gaining access to a global community and the vast resources of information, entertainment, and ideas that exist in the English-speaking world. The journey to fluency has its challenges, certainly. There will be moments of frustration and self-doubt. But remember that every step forward, no matter how small, is progress. Every word you learn, every sentence you speak, every conversation you engage in builds your capability and confidence. And the wonderful thing about this natural approach to language learning is that it creates a positive cycle. The more you use English, the more comfortable you become. The more comfortable you become, the more you use it, the more you use it. The more you improve, the more you improve, the more enjoyment you derive from the language. Start today with just one small change. Perhaps it's labeling 5 objects in your home with English words. Perhaps it's spending 5 minutes talking to yourself in English while getting ready in the morning. Perhaps it's changing your phone's language settings to English. These small steps, consistently taken, lead to remarkable progress over time. Learning a language is one of the most rewarding journeys you can undertake. It challenges you, changes how you see the world, and opens doors to new relationships and opportunities. And while the path isn't always easy, the approach I've shared makes it more natural, more enjoyable, and ultimately more successful. So let go of the fear that has been holding you back. Embrace the natural learning process, complete with its messy mistakes and gradual improvements. Trust that with consistent exposure and practice, English will become not just a skill you've acquired, but a genuine part of who you are. I believe in your ability to master English. You have the same innate language, learning capacity that allowed you to learn your mother tongue. A truly remarkable feat that you accomplished without textbooks, grammar rules, or formal study. That capacity hasn't disappeared. It's still within you, ready to be activated through the natural approaches we've discussed. The journey to English fluency isn't a straight line. It's more like a spiral, where you revisit similar topics and structures at increasingly sophisticated levels. Some days you'll feel like you're making incredible progress. Other days you might feel like you've forgotten everything you knew. This fluctuation is normal and doesn't reflect your true trajectory, which becomes apparent only when you look back over longer periods. As you continue this journey, remember to be patient with yourself. Language learning is not a race or a competition. It's a deeply personal process of growth that unfolds at its own pace for each individual. Your path won't look exactly like anyone else's, and that's perfectly fine. The most important qualities for success aren't intelligence or linguistic talent. They're consistency, curiosity, and courage. Consistency in practice, curiosity about the language and the cultures it represents, and the courage to use what you know even when it feels uncomfortable. With these qualities as your foundation, and the natural approach as your framework, English fluency is not just possible. It's inevitable. It's simply a matter of time and practice. So go forward with confidence. Immerse yourself in English. Speak without fear of mistakes. Think directly in the language whenever possible. Celebrate your progress, no matter how small it seems. Connect with others on the same journey. And most importantly, enjoy the process. English isn't just a subject to study. It's a living, breathing tool for connection, expression, and discovery. Approach it with openness and joy, and you'll find that what once seemed like an insurmountable challenge becomes one of the most rewarding experiences of your life. Remember, today isn't the end of your English journey. It's truly just the beginning. From this moment forward, with your new perspective and practical strategies, you're equipped to make faster progress than ever before. Keep learning, keep growing, and keep believing in your ability to master this beautiful language. The world of English awaits you. With all its rich literature, global connections, career opportunities, and cultural experiences. Step into it with confidence, knowing that you have everything you need to succeed. This is your journey, and I believe in you completely. You can do this. In fact, you're already doing it, right now, as you engage with these ideas and prepare to put them into practice. English fluency is within your reach. All you need to do is embrace the natural approach. Practice consistently and trust the process. The rest will follow, and before long, you'll look back in amazement at how far you've come. As you continue your English journey, remember that language learning is inherently social. While the solo practices I've described are incredibly valuable, there's a special kind of progress that happens when you engage with others. Seeking out opportunities for real conversation, whether in person or online, accelerates your development in ways that individual study cannot. Look for language exchange partners, conversation groups, or community classes where you can practice in a supportive environment. These settings provide immediate feedback, expose you to different accents and speaking styles, and create accountability that keeps you consistent. They also make the learning process more enjoyable and meaningful by connecting it to real human relationships. Don't wait until you feel ready to engage in these interactions. The truth is, you'll never feel completely prepared, and that's okay. Even with limited vocabulary and imperfect grammar, you can communicate effectively if you're willing to use what you know creatively. Remember that communication is about connection, not perfection. When engaged in conversation, focus on being understood rather than being impressive. Use simple, clear language. Don't be afraid to ask for clarification when needed. Employ gestures and facial expressions to supplement your words. These communication strategies are valuable even for advanced speakers and will serve you well throughout your language journey. Be mindful of the emotional aspects of language learning as well. Learning a new language can make you feel vulnerable or childlike at times, especially as an adult accustomed to competence in other areas of life. These feelings are completely normal and experienced by virtually every language learner. Rather than fighting against these emotions, acknowledge them with compassion. Remind yourself that this vulnerability is actually a sign of courage. You're stepping outside a comfort zone and taking risks in service of growth. The willingness to be a beginner again is a powerful strength, not a weakness. As you progress in your English journey, you'll likely experience periods of rapid improvement followed by plateaus where progress seems to stall. These plateaus can be frustrating, but are actually an essential part of the learning process. During these times, your brain is consolidating what you've learned, integrating new knowledge with existing skills, and preparing for the next leap forward. When you hit a plateau, resist the urge to drastically change your approach or to give up entirely. Instead, maintain consistency in your practice while perhaps introducing small variations to keep things fresh. The breakthrough will come, often when you least expect it. Remember that language learning is non-linear. You might find that you understand a conversation perfectly one day, then struggle with a similar exchange the next. Your ability to produce complex sentences might flow easily in the morning, but feel labored by evening. This variability is normal and doesn't reflect your true progress, which becomes apparent only when viewed over longer periods of time. Another common experience is the phenomenon of language attrition, the feeling that you're forgetting your native language as you become more immersed in English. You might find yourself searching for words in your mother tongue or unconsciously inserting English expressions into your native language conversations. This interference between languages is actually a sign of progress, indicating that English is becoming more deeply integrated into your cognitive framework. As you advance in your English journey, you'll discover that language learning isn't just about adding new words and grammar patterns. It's about developing a new perspective on communication itself. You'll become more aware of how language shapes thought, how cultural contexts influence meaning, and how much is communicated beyond the literal words themselves. This meta-linguistic awareness is a valuable gift that extends far beyond English proficiency. You'll also find that learning English changes how you approach problem solving and creativity. Research has shown that bilingual individuals often demonstrate greater cognitive flexibility and innovative thinking. By developing the ability to express the same concept in different linguistic frameworks, you're literally expanding your mind's capacity for seeing multiple perspectives and solutions. The courage you develop through language learning, the willingness to take risks, make mistakes, and persist through challenges, transfers to other areas of life as well. Many language learners report increased confidence in professional settings, enhanced ability to adapt to change, and greater resilience when facing difficulties in any context. The process of mastering English is building not just linguistic skills, but character strengths that serve you in countless ways. As you continue this journey, I encourage you to periodically reflect on how far you've come. Most learners focus so intently on what they haven't yet mastered that they fail to appreciate the remarkable progress they've already made. Take time to remember where you started and acknowledge all you've accomplished, even if you're not yet where you want to be. Consider recording yourself speaking English at regular intervals, perhaps a short video every 3 months, where you talk about your day or express your thoughts on a particular topic. When you look back at these recordings after a year or more, you'll be amazed at how dramatically your fluency, pronunciation, and confidence have improved, even if the day-to-day changes seemed imperceptible. Language learning is ultimately about connection to other people, to new ideas, to different ways of seeing the world. As you become more fluent in English, you're not just acquiring a skill, you're expanding the range of human experiences and relationships available to you. This is perhaps the greatest gift of language learning, the ability to transcend boundaries and engage more fully with our diverse global community. Let's now consider some specific strategies for common situations that many English learners find challenging. These practical approaches will help you navigate real-world interactions with greater confidence and success. Situation I-1. Phone conversations. Many learners find phone calls particularly difficult because they lack visual cues and may involve unfamiliar accents or background noise. To prepare for these challenges, practice with a friend first, preferably someone who can give you feedback. Write down key phrases you might need before making the call. A notepad ready to write down important information. If you don't understand something, it's perfectly acceptable to say, "I'm sorry, could you repeat that?" Or, "Could you speak a little more slowly, please?" Confirm important details by repeating them. So you're saying the appointment is on Tuesday at 2 p.m. Is that correct? Situation A2E. Job interviews. The high-stakes nature of job interviews can make them especially nerve-wracking for English learners. To perform at your best, research common interview questions in your field and practice your responses aloud. Prepare concise examples of events and experiences. Practice the 3-second rule. Don't spend too long formulating the perfect answer. Remember that thoughtful, authentic responses are more impressive than flawless grammar. If you don't understand a question, ask for clarification rather than guessing. Focus on communicating your qualifications and enthusiasm for the position. Situation Q3. Group conversations. Following and contributing to conversations among multiple native speakers can be challenging due to rapid speaker changes, overlapping talk, and inside jokes or cultural references. To navigate these situations, position yourself where you can see everyone's faces. As visual cues help with comprehension, it's okay to be more of a listener. Initially, as you get comfortable, look for natural pauses where you can contribute without interrupting. Prepare a few questions that can help steer the conversation to topics you're comfortable discussing. If you miss something important, wait for a natural break and say, "I'm not sure I followed that last point. Could someone explain it again?" Situation 40. Academic or professional presentations. Presenting to a group in English combines language challenges with public speaking anxiety. To present effectively, write out your key points, but don't memorize a script word for word. Practice your presentation multiple times. ideally with a native speaker, who can give feedback. Use visual aids to support your verbal communication. Then you think necessary. Nervousness tends to make people rush. Prepare for questions by anticipating what your audience might ask. Remember that content expertise often matters more to your audience than linguistic perfection in all these situations. Remember that most native speakers are far more impressed by your ability to communicate in a second language than they are concerned about any errors you might make. Your willingness to engage despite imperfection demonstrates courage and commitment that most people respect and admire. As we approach the conclusion of our time together, I want to revisit the core principles that will guide your English journey going forward. 1. Mindset matters. Your beliefs about language learning directly impact your progress. Maintain the conviction that English is becoming easier for you every day and that fluency is inevitable with consistent practice. 2. Immersion works. Surround yourself with English in ways that fit naturally into your daily life. Change your phone settings, label objects in your home, narrate your activities, and consume English media that genuinely interests you. 3. Practical usage beats theoretical knowledge. Focus on learning useful sentences and patterns rather than abstract grammar rules. The ability to communicate effectively matters more than technical perfection. 4. Thinking in English is the key to fluency. Practice forming thoughts directly in English rather than translating from your native language. Start with simple observations and gradually build to more complex ideas. 5. Mistakes are essential to progress. Embrace errors as valuable feedback rather than embarrassing failures. The willingness to make mistakes and learn from them accelerates your development. 6. Consistency trumps intensity. Moderate practice yields better results than occasional intensive study. Even 15 minutes of daily engagement is more effective than 3 hours once a week. 7. Connection is the ultimate goal. Remember that language exists to connect human beings to one another. Focus on communication and relationship, building rather than academic perfection. These principles form the foundation of natural language acquisition, the approach that aligns with how our brains are designed to learn languages. By following this path, you're not fighting against your natural learning mechanisms, but working in harmony with them. The journey to English fluency is simultaneously one of the most challenging and rewarding experiences you can undertake. It tests your persistence, challenges your identity, and repeatedly pushes you outside your comfort zone. Yet it also expands your perspective, connects you to a global community, and opens doors to opportunities that would otherwise remain closed. Each step you take on this journey, each conversation you attempt, each mistake you make and learn from, each moment of understanding that wasn't possible before represents genuine growth. Not just in your language skills, but in your capacity as a human being to adapt, connect, and express your unique perspective. Remember that there is no final destination of perfect English. Even native speakers continue learning new words, expressions, and communication strategies throughout their lives. Instead, there are countless milestones of increased capability and confidence, each one worth celebrating as an achievement in its own right. Your English journey is uniquely yours. It will unfold at its own pace, with its own challenges and breakthroughs. Trust this process. Honor your progress. Forgive your setbacks. And above all, maintain the consistent engagement that makes growth inevitable. I believe in your ability to master English. Not because language learning is easy. It isn't. But because you possess the same innate capacity for language acquisition that has enabled billions of people to become fluent in multiple languages throughout human history. This ability is your birthright as a human being, and it remains powerful throughout your life. The approaches I've shared today simply help you activate that natural capacity in the most effective way possible. By changing your mindset, creating an immersive environment, practicing in real-life contexts, embracing mistakes, and thinking directly in English, you're aligning with how your brain naturally acquires language. So go forward with confidence. Today marks not the end of your English journey, but a new beginning, one where you approach learning with greater clarity, effectiveness, and joy. The path ahead contains challenges, certainly, but also discoveries, connections, and achievements that will enrich your life in ways you can't yet imagine. English fluency is within your reach. Take that first step today. Change one aspect of your environment. Practice one conversation. Shift one limiting belief. Then tomorrow, do it again. Each small action builds upon the last, creating momentum that will carry you forward to the fluency you desire. I'm so excited for the journey ahead of you, for the moments of breakthrough, the new connections you'll make, the ideas you'll be able to express, the opportunities you'll be able to access. Your world is about to expand in beautiful ways through this language. Thank you for joining me today. If you found this approach valuable, please don't keep it to yourself. Share this episode with friends who are also learning English. Leave a comment about which strategy you're going to try first. Subscribe to our channel for more content that will support your language learning journey. And of course, hit that like button to help others discover these natural language learning principles. Until next time, remember, English isn't just something you study, it's something you live. Embrace it as part of your daily life, and fluency will follow naturally. You've got this, and I believe in you completely.